Alright, greetings. As a quick background for this video and me myself, I am an ADHD-ridden person who is, for some reason, really caring about min-maxing uptime in my PvE games, especially co-op PvE games. Such as in Gunfire Reborn, I like to play a character called Al Bai, whose skill is dual-wielding two primary weapons at the same time, and I like putting together a combination of perks in that game in every run to achieve infinite uptime on his ability, to where you could just cancel it, instantly put it back up, and you just always have two guns out. In horse shooters like Deep Rock Galactic and Helldivers 2, I enjoyed loadouts that either have large amounts of sustainable fire, or infinite fire, which is why I like to play Gunner in Deep Rock Galactic, who, with the minigun, never has to reload it, aside from grabbing ammo to resupply the whole thing, and which doesn't reload it. And using the arc thrower or nade launcher and slash supply pack combo in Helldivers 2, so I can just pin the trigger without caring about my ammo. I also like finding powerful combos in games. This comes from being a card gamer, such as a person that likes playing Magic the Gathering, Legends of Runeterra, Shadowverse, overall just card game player. I like putting together infinite combos or combos that are very powerful in the game. Now, pertaining to Mycopunk, similar to other horse shooters, I want more uptime. If you want more uptime in shooting enemies in that game, as well as other games, sometimes a good defense is necessary to that kind of offensive playstyle. Why? Because simply if you're too busy running away from the enemy, dodging attacks, healing, otherwise being on defense, that takes away from you shooting, obviously. So, in Mycopunk, if you could be on a tether playing this guy, on a tether infinitely, with the only time that you're not forced to be on a tether is the time it takes you to place down a second one and hook up to that one, you can spend the rest of your time shooting, because congratulations, the game's doing the moving for you. And why, in Mycopunk specifically, being on a tether is so good is because at the game's core mechanics, while you are quickly moving in any way with any type of mobility, the enemy's behavior is coded in a way to where they have a very hard time hitting you when you're moving at like sprinting plus speeds, faster than sprinting speeds. They will still try and attack you, but they often end up hitting your after image / your ghost, because by the time they try to hit you, they hit where you were because you already be somewhere else. Right? That's kind of a weird way to explain it. Now, one last thing I have to say before getting onto the build, right? This will not make you invincible. You won't be invincible on the tether, and the main worry you have on the tether is getting stuck, as you'll probably have seen in this gameplay. You're going to get stuck in a wall, on the terrain, on a map, in the tree. Sometimes your tether gets stuck on uneven ground, just comes at a wonk angle. Yeah, and when you're stuck on a wall or something, or inside of a boss, like sometimes you get clustered up to a boss enemy, obviously you won't be moving because you're stuck. And because you're not moving, you will be obviously a lot easier to get hit by an enemy and damaged and possibly go down. So, and one last thing I want to iterate is I'm not going to show you a way to be on a single tether forever. I don't think there's a like staying on a single tether forever without getting off, that kind of thing. I don't think there's a second way in the game to even do that. What I'm going to show you is a way to have infinite uptime by it, which I mean, the only time when you have to come off your first tether, your second tether already have come off cooldown, right? And by a decent margin too for this build. So first things first in this build, and the most absolute critical necessary part of this build is elemental overheat. Just from seeing this, you could probably think of you can probably figure how the rest of the build's gonna go, right? And other parts are interchangeable, but this part is very necessary. Now, if you're not familiar with this perk, you basically get 5 times duration on a tether when an effect is applied to you, which doesn't need to be a fire effect. You could be like acid or something, but for my build, I chose the one that relies on fire. Now, the main downside to this perk is 2 things. One, usually when you apply an element's effect to yourself, such as fire, it's temporary. You can only do it temporarily, right? There's very few ways to permanently be on fire, permanently be on acid, such as relying on your grenade's cooldown, but which obviously has a cooldown, right? That's usually the way it gets done. And 2, when you're under effect of an element such as fire and acid, you're going to take damage over time, which is reasonable and logical because you're on freaking fire. The second very necessary piece to this puzzle is the Stolen Nanites perk, which heals anybody constantly while attached to your grappling hook, or your grappling pole, with not just you, and your allies as well. It heals you not only enough to cancel out the damage from your fire effects, but it even heals you over that amount to keep a constant heal over time on you, to keep you topped off from chip damage the enemy does do to you. So, hey, there goes the downside of that from previous. The last two core parts of this build, which are perks for your primary weapon. I have these perks on the cycler. I'm not sure if you can get them on something else. I'm really not sure. The perks are 1, Infinity Burn, which gives you the upside of infinite ammo, so you never have to reload your gun. With the quote-unquote downside that we're turning into an upside from this, of applying the gun's damage element to you after sustained fire. Then we simply attach Heated Battery to make it shoot fire bullets and therefore apply the fire effect to you, and there's our core for the build. There are rare perks that apply, blue being the rare rarity, right? That make the bullets apply acid as well as other types of damage, if you need acid damage or a different type of damage, right? So, the rest of the build, that was the core. The rest of the build is just the usual suspects for extending duration, like parallel wiring, spare cable, tether battery, all of which I'm pretty sure you just get from leveling the class. You just get those, like, guaranteed, but I'm not certain. At least 2 of those, I think. I use a cooldown reduction perk called Solar Panel. I use Fulmination Core, which gives you a very insane reset of duration when you run out of tether for the first time on that specific tether. With the downside of giving you a damage over time debuff, which once again gets offset by our heal over time, as mentioned prior. And I personally finished this build off with an exotic called Internal Combustion, which makes you explode for damage, like basically you get a grenade explosion centered on yourself whenever you accumulate enough combustion stacks, which you get whenever you're on fire. Take a real good guess how often you'll be on fire. Yeah, go figure. And yeah, that's about it. Here is my an image of my current arrangement for this on the perk grid. There are some odds and ends perks that have nothing to do with the build that I didn't mention, like jetpack duration. There are extra slots there, so those are just why I fill in. And I would very much like to note that this arrangement does not require rotating. In case you didn't know, after a certain level in the game, you will unlock the ability to rotate perks to fit them on the perk grid better. I don't know if it's called the perk grid, but that's what I call it. I don't even have that unlocked yet, but this doesn't require it, so that's very much a plus. And yeah, that's about it. If you found this helpful, I'd appreciate a sub. It doesn't cost you anything, and it'd help me as I'm trying to grow. I myself play a bunch of random games, basically wherever I find fun, and I post a bunch of stuff on them, like not just tutorials. In terms of Mycopunk content, I'll probably not post any more tutorials on it, but I do plan to post some gameplay of me and my friend playing it one day whenever that comes around. You know, ADHD and procrastination is a deadly combination, but hey, I'm not here to give excuses. Everybody has things holding them back, so they're not making excuses. I don't get to either, right? Regardless, thank you for your time, very much for your time. Time being the one resource that we can never get more of, and you take care.